Welcome to A Place for Film, the IU Cinema podcast. On this week's episode, we're talking about the summer schedule. All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. My name is Andy Hunsucker.
And I'm Jason Thompson.
And with us this week is the director of the IU Cinema, John Vickers. Thanks for joining us, John.
Well, thanks for having me back.
Yeah. Well, obviously, you just call us and be like, guys, I'm taking over the show. It's me now forever. And we'd have to say, okay.
Mm-hmm. You heard it here, folks. That might happen.
If John wants to do a podcast, the IU Cinema podcast, he's welcome to take over. I'll even still edit the show if you just want to be the host, and that's fine.
Sounds good.
I think the audience would agree. They'd be cool with that.
Mm-hmm.
But we're going to talk about the summer schedule. There's a couple of big events coming up. Usually the summer's like a little low key here at the cinema, but this year you've got some big events coming up, and we want to talk about those along with the other films that you've got cooking. Well, let's talk about the cinema summer schedule. Now, in the past, and for the most part this summer as well, the cinema kind of almost chills out a little over the summer. It's like during the regular semester, you can expect maybe one series that might run the whole weekend, plus a International Art House Series film, or some mixture of other stuff mixed in there.
Yes.
For the summer, it's generally just one International Art House Series film.
It is.
For the most part. There's a couple of bonuses here, though, but I want to talk about all this stuff.
Okay.
So, literally tomorrow night, which we won't, it's too late for now. Sound City's playing. We talked about it last week, so you should have known. All right? You should have known. But
which ironically is a song by Dave Grohl. So.
Oh, is it?
Yes.
There you go.
You should have known.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And then this next coming weekend, it's dark, but the weekend after, Room 237 is playing.
So you guys have seen that as well, right?
Yes, we loved it. I loved it.
Room 237, for your audience, if you haven't talked about it, I mean, it's a dissection of The Shining, Stanley Kubrick's The Shining, and it's an interesting dissection.
Yes.
So they try to break it up into some chapters, but you have folks that are giving commentary that seem credible, and then you have folks that are giving commentary that seem like stoners.
Seems incredible.
Yeah, incredible. But so I wonder, I don't know the background of some of the folks that they have, providing the commentary.
What's really interesting about it is you never see these people talking.
Right.
It's all voiceover. And what you see on the screen is clips from The Shining and other films.
Right.
And I took a picture of it. I might use this as the picture for this blog post. But on the poster, half the poster is a disclaimer about how the film is not approved by the Kubrick estate or Warner Brothers or anyone. Mm-hmm. They did not ask for permission for any of this stuff. And Warner Brothers I don't think they've sued them yet. It's still in distribution. It's still out in the world. So
yeah, when I booked it with IFC Films, actually we tried to book it for the spring, and we couldn't because the booker that I deal with said that we can't give you that title yet because we don't know whether we're getting sued.
Mm-hmm.
and so apparently it's not happening.
Yeah.
But yes, you're right. There's a lot of disclaimers. Mm-hmm. It is full of clips. I don't know how they do that. There are some recurring clips like the opening sequence. And it was funny when I first saw that, I thought, well, maybe there were only certain things that they could use multiple times, or I'm not sure why they did that. But I think it's an interesting dissection. It makes me really want to see The Shining when we play it that Saturday as well. But again, like you said, some are incredible. Some of them that are giving commentary, it just seems like conspiracy theory.
Mm-hmm.
But others are taking it, I think, a little more seriously.
Yeah. And the filmmaker makes zero comment. The filmmaker doesn't have a voiceover that says, well, now we'll talk to this person about their ideas. And look, they said this, but now it's all just on screen, and you're just kind of left to figure out what you're trying to figure out.
It does a really good job using music to transition between the different ideas, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I think the music is probably the best part of the movie for me, at least, because it just sort of carries you, and you're like, oh, now we're talking about this again, and then, oh, we're talking about this new thing now. Oh, and they are somehow connected. It does that with the sort of the transition of the music. At least it did for me.
Yeah.
And I think it does a great job of pointing out, the details. No question. And I feel that Stanley Kubrick paid attention to the details.
Yeah.
And if there's something that's off in a detail, it was deliberate.
Yeah.
Now, that might not always be the case, but it seems like a director like him, it would be the case.
Well, and I think one of the things I loved most about it was, even though I thought the ideas were crazy, a lot of the legwork they did made me think about the film in a different way. Like they were talking about the geography of the hotel and how it's completely inconsistent throughout the whole film. And like they walk out this door and turn left, and now they're in a totally different place that you see it in the film. So it's not like he was trying to hide it or use different locations in a different place. And I think because Kubrick was a person that played to the details, I think he was trying to say something about, this is a weird place. You shouldn't be comfortable when you're walking around here. So I think watching this film, you know, if you're walking out of the film thinking, I think that guy was dead on about that whole thing about Native Americans and how it's all about the Native, I think you're taking it in a weird direction. But if you come out of it, I think you will come out of it thinking, wow, The Shining is a really deep movie and there's a lot to chew on in there. Yeah. That I think is worthwhile.
Well, just watch out for the Demon Snow skier poster.
Yeah. That's a weird.
Yeah, that was a little much.
Yeah, that's a weird thing. But I actually have tickets to Friday and Saturday because I'm still trying to figure out what the right order to see these in, because you are playing The Shining as well. You're playing The Shining at 3 p.m. on Saturday, May 18th, which, I mean, come on, go see The Shining. Yeah. But you're playing Room 237 right after it. I'm going to see it on Friday, Room 237 on Friday, and I'm going to try to see The Shining and Room 237 on Saturday to sort of see what the correct order to watch these films in.
Sure.
Because I feel like they're companion pieces in some way,
I think
intentional or not.
I think I'm going to watch The Shining first this time around.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
So I'm going to hop in and say something too. Yes, we are having a lighter summer. Our summer is lighter than our normal schedule, and we do have some special things that we'll talk about. You know, we figured out on average we screen during the academic year 7 titles a week. And that's, you know, it's a bit ridiculous at times, but the demand is there, and generally we have the audience. But it's a nice reprise from that this summer to have one title or 2.
Yeah, I mean, I was at Ebert Fest this past week, and I felt like I was trying really hard not to be like a smug jerk, because people would be like, several of the panels were all about, how do you see good film in your town? Like, I don't know, it's a mystery. And I'm like,
that's funny.
I did get up at one point and mention the cinema, but you can't describe the cinema in 5 seconds to somebody. You have to really be here and experience it to understand just how great it is. But
okay, enough of that.
Anyways.
Okay. The next coming up, which we just added to the website maybe 2 days ago, is the Source Family. It's a new documentary that opens maybe this weekend in New York. And it's about an experimental, let's say, commune, or you could even say cult from the 70s that was led by a guru named Father Yod or Yod. And but this group was very progressive, and they were in Los Angeles, and they had a health food restaurant on Sunset Strip, and it became kind of the hot spot for the young actors and such. And they had quite a following, and they attracted a lot of young women and men to their group. But they also had a rock band, and they released a number of albums. And anyway, it's an interesting documentary. It uses a lot of archival footage and some great great footage. It's interesting. It's worth seeing. Great music throughout, and we're timing it with the release of the soundtrack for the film, and we're partnering with Landlocked Music. So we're going to sell CDs in the theater, and you have to get your tickets through Landlocked. So that's the only place you can get your tickets in advance. Anyway, it's interesting, and it's worth coming out to see.
Cool.
The next film we have is Mira Nair's The Reluctant Fundamentalist, the new film, and it's Nair is, if you don't know her work, Monsoon Wedding, The Namesake, Mississippi Masala, and then she did some other Hollywood films as well. But she's really good at looking at either the immigrant experience or the experience of tradition and culture versus modernity. So usually it's an immigrant family, and usually Eastern family, Indian family, trying to cope with living in the U.S. And in this case, it's a young Pakistani man who comes to, I think, Harvard in the late 90s, and very successful. Goes to Wall Street and starts really knocking it out, and then 9/11 happens, and his world is reshaped for him. He doesn't have a lot of choice, but it actually makes him rethink his tradition, his history. His family is still back in Pakistan, and the things that were gentle inside him get hardened. The things that were hard inside him get even harder, and it's his struggle with kind of reconciling with who he is and who he wanted to be. And it's really a good film. And if you're familiar with her work, I think you'll really like this. If you're not familiar with her work, I think it's worth checking out.
Yeah.
Next, we have there's a film which I haven't seen titled Bayou Blue, and it's directed by somebody that's on faculty here. It's a documentary about the hunt for a rapist and murderer, and it's set in the South. And I don't know a whole lot more about that. This is tied to the 73rd IU Writers Conference, and so she's going to be speaking about the film. But there's also going to be live music attached, and I don't know exactly what that's going to look like yet. And I guess I need to because it's coming up in a few weeks.
Sounds exciting, regardless.
Yeah. And then a film that I'm really excited to see again is Something in the Air. It's from the French director Olivier Assayas, and if you're familiar with his work, he did Summer Hours and Carlos and Irma Vep, Clean, and many others. Great French director. This film is a bit autobiographical, so it's about a group of students in the early 70s who are in revolt. I mean, they're protesting. They're taking a stand, and he's an artist. The lead character, I think his name is Gillis. He's a lead character. He's an artist that is trying to find himself, and it's in some ways it's a coming of age, but it's more about trying to discover who you are. I guess that's coming of age, but discover who you are, not only as a person sexually and all of those things, but also politically, and who you want to believe in, and what's going to be important to you. But it's really especially if you like Assayas's work, it's great to see some of the things that he wanted to put on screen that shaped him, and so including his dabblings in filmmaking and attacking filmmakers who he thinks are bourgeois, and it's really pretty great. It's a really strong film.
Yeah.
Then we have something called Indie FilmCon, and this is being led by a faculty member here on campus, Chris Eller, who's been on your show a number of times.
He'll be on the show in a couple weeks to talk about this.
Great, because he knows much more about it than I do, and so we're hosting and helping facilitate. But it's going to be a series of screenings, lectures, workshops, panel discussions, and it's really geared towards independent filmmakers that are just getting into it, not just getting into it, but are that want to talk with like-minded folks and find ways to better their chances of actually making it as an independent filmmaker.
Yeah, and I'm going to do 2 workshops at this event.
What are you doing the workshops on?
I'm going to do one on video editing workflow, and I'm going to do another one on how to build a press kit.
That's awesome.
Because there's so many times I've been sitting here after interviewing someone and it's like, I really wish I had all of this stuff just in one place. So I'm going to, hopefully I can have an impact in the future.
That's great.
And make things easier on myself. It's very selfish.
So I think it's going to be a great conference. It's a 2.5-day conference, and it's still taking shape, but I think it's really going to be great.
Yeah.
And we're looking forward to it. Another film that we have coming up is Frances Ha.
This is one that I'm really excited about. I'm looking forward to this one.
Yeah, this is Noah Baumbach's new film, and it's shot in black and white. It's co-written by Greta Gerwig, and it's in many ways kind of a love letter to Greta Gerwig. I mean, it's doting on her, but it's the story of her and a friend that are in New York, and she wants to become a modern dancer, even though she's not very graceful. And she's Greta Gerwig, and she plays herself in some ways, I think. But it's also about growing up and growing apart. These friendships, it's time for Greta, or whatever her character's name, Frances, of course. It's time for Frances to grow up, and it's having to let go of some friendships because you can't be 18 forever, and it's a beautiful film, and I likened it to Truffaut's Jules and Jim, but I read some reviews that likened it to Godard's Band of Outsiders. So, it definitely has a French New Wave feel to it, and it's fun. I think you'll like it.
Good.
Then there's a gap which we're trying to fill, and we're trying to book the Much Ado by
Joss Whedon.
Yeah, Joss Whedon, and we haven't got it booked yet. So if that happens, we'll have that in that slot.
Good.
And then the last weekend in June, before we close for July, is Slapstick-Con.
Slapstick-Con. Now, I don't know. We're not going to do a full episode previewing Slapstick-Con. We'll try to get an interview of some kind, but this is our time to talk about Slapstick-Con.
Yeah.
So let's really, really describe it here.
Well, okay, so I've never been, but Slapstick-Con is a festival that's been going on for, I believe, about 9 years in the Washington, D.C. area. And it's 3 full days, actually 3.5 days of early comedies, and a lot of them are silent, but many of them are early sound comedies. And what they pride themselves on are bringing out kind of the rarities. And so even though there will be Harold Lloyd films, it won't be Safety Last, it won't be Speedy and some of the things that he's most known for. There will be Chaplin, but it won't be the known Chaplins. There will be actually some rare Marx Brothers shorts that are going to be screened that may have not been screened for 50 years. So there are many things that collectors and archives kind of pull together and bring to this festival. So we work very closely with the Library of Congress, who has been one of the main sponsors of Slapstick-Con in the past. But then also Richard Roberts is the lead, the director of Slapstick-Con. And he's a collector himself. He's also a scholar. And he not only digs into his collection, but he knows all of the collectors in the country. And again, it's bringing the gems together that people haven't seen. It's all on film. Every silent film has live accompaniment. So we have Philip Carley and Andrew Simpson, I think, and I'm not sure of the second accompanist.
Let's see if I can look him up here.
But anyway, we have 2 accompanists that so happen to be alum of IU.
Yeah, Andrew Simpson, you had it right.
Andrew Simpson. But I think it's a marathon for these guys because we're running, 13 hours of slapstick, and many of them again are silent. So it's really a lot of playing for these guys, and they're real champs at doing it. And they just keep trading off, play tag team on the piano. But it's most of it. In fact, I would say all of it would be considered pretty much all ages. And it's an experiment for us. We're hoping that it goes well and it's something that we're proud of and we get an audience for. I'm told that most of the audience that came to Washington for it traveled to get there. So, we're banking on people traveling to Indiana as well. But I think it's a good I think it's great for the cinema. I think it brings some additional flavor to our summer. It brings something that can be considered family fare to the summer. It brings more silent film to the cinema, which I think that could be a criticism that we might not have enough of. And it also strengthens our relationships with the archives. So I think if it goes well, it's a win-win, and it could be something interesting. And I'll throw out there that every summer when I was in Michigan, at least for 10 years, I put on a silent film festival with my wife in our cinema. And I miss that. And so we always did a 3-day festival every summer. And, maybe that was one of the reasons why I leaned towards this too, because I did miss that. And I think there isn't enough opportunity to see silent films. And, if we can show silent films that are engaging to kids and families, then hopefully this is, something that the community will enjoy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just the nature of discovery makes me want to see this stuff because it's, I just want to, I like seeing the things that not everyone gets to see, the thing that I can say, oh, look, well, I saw that and, be really smug about it. But that's enough. But to have it be all this sort of old silent stuff that, is the rarities, that's what's really grabbing me here. It's like they took care to be like, yeah, it's not the same old stuff, and they've got I also love how much of it there is. It's not like an evening of silent film. It's half a week.
Well, yeah. So with that said, I mean, you have to be a little fanatical, to want to go to 30 hours of slapstick, right? So, so it's not for everyone, for the entire festival, but you can do a day pass and get your fill if that's all you want to take in. And then I'll also say that we're not curating this. Richard Roberts is curating this program. And he's very frank about this, that, even though we're showing rare things and we're showing things that should be seen, they're not all good films.
Yeah.
So, there are some short films in there that will probably be not very good.
Yeah.
And he's very open about it, but they are, they're historically maybe important. And, again, if they're rarities, maybe they're worth showing. But he said, don't be prepared for high art on, everything that we screen.
Yeah, so this is starting Thursday, June 27th, Thursday at noon. It goes all the way to Sunday. Friday, Saturday, Sunday are all full, from 9 to basically
10
midnight,
PM,
10 or midnight,
11,
something like that. A 4-day pass is $100.
Correct.
I don't know how much a single
days are $30, and I think kids under 12 are free, but I need to verify that.
Yeah. But yeah, this all looks really great. I'm excited to go. I've already taken the days off from work. I already told my boss, don't expect me those days.
Excellent.
I don't know how much of it I'll get to go to or how much I'll be able to handle, but I'm going to be at as much as I can handle, because I'm very excited about it.
That's good. Yeah, we should have an I Survived Slapstick T-shirt or something for.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you played the whole 10 hours of Showa. This is probably a little different experience than sitting through. I'm sure you had people who sat through all of Showa.
We did. Yeah.
So
you're right. This will be. You won't feel like you've been run over by a train after this.
Yeah.
I wouldn't think.
Yeah.
But yeah, it should be fun. And again, it's a bit of an experiment for us, but we're looking forward to it. From a technical standpoint, it's going to keep Manny and others on their toes. This is a lot of film to be, we're going to receive it, just the day of or days before. And so that's a lot of film to prep and prepare, get ready for the projectors. And, short films are a challenge sometimes to run because we run two projectors. It's going to be a bit of a challenge, but I think we're all up for it.
Yeah, well, I'm sure you are. All right, so Slapstick-Con, the end of June there, June 27th through 30th, and tickets. And actually, the other thing I love is that all of the most of the stuff is actually listed here.
It is
right now, so you could do some research and say, "Oh, I definitely want to see that and that and that," and figure out your schedule.
The program is subject to change, but if there are changes, they will be minor. But again, if you're interested in early comedies and something rare and something unique and live music, this could be interesting for you.
Yeah. So and then the cinema's dark for July, and you'll be back for some stuff in August before the the full fall schedule starts.
August 1st. And one of the things I know that we're going to do in August, there's a traveling Sundance Shorts program, which I know we'll do at least for 1 or 2 days. But we haven't really booked much of August. Well, that's the only thing that we've committed to.
Yeah.
And yes, we're dark in July, and it's a good time to recoup, and we have all kinds of maintenance projects and fun stuff. So we're back in action in August.
All right. Well, I think that'll do it. Let's get out of here. John, thanks again so much for joining us. Thanks for making the time. We always appreciate it.
Sure.
So we will get out of here. Thank you guys for watching. I'm Andy.
And I'm Jason.
This has been, and always will be, A Place for Film. A Place for Film is recorded at WFIU Studios in Bloomington, Indiana.